For the CCP, when it realizes that it's made a mistake, how will it remedy it? It'll use bigger and crazier moves or measures to cover it up. Today, we'll reveal the connection between the flood discharge of the Three Gorges Dam and the campaign of relocating to the Xiongan New Area, from which you can clearly see the mentality of Beijing. Let's look at the Three Gorges Dam first. From August 24th to the end of August 2023, the Yangtze River Basin in China received moderate to heavy rainfall from west to east, with torrential rainfall in some places. While the Yangtze River Basin was undergoing rainfall, the public was highly interested in how the Three Gorges Dam was holding up. Back on August 22, 2023, Chinese officials said that the Three Gorges Reservoir would experience the largest flooding event since the flood season started. The Yangtze River Commission issued an order calling for an increase in water discharge from the reservoir, having it controlled at a daily average of 22,000 cubic meters per second. Thus, the Three Gorges Reservoir has been increasing its daily flood discharge since August 22nd. On August 25th, a check of the real-time water condition on the Yangtze River water level network revealed that the outgoing flow from the Three Gorges Reservoir reached 27,300 cubic meters per second at 11 a.m. on that day, exceeding the 24,000 cubic meters per second on the day before. However, the official hasn't announced the amount of incoming flow. Why does the Three Gorges have to discharge floodwater? It's because the Three Gorges is actually unable to achieve the supposed function of preventing floods that occur only once in a million years that was advertised by the officials at the beginning of the project. The Three Gorges Dam, which has a claimed storage capacity of 175 meters, has to discharge at 145 meters. This is because the upstream city of Chongqing is at a lower level with a difference of about 42 meters. If the water level of the Three Gorges Dam reaches 175 meters during the flood season, the water level in Chongqing could reach 217 meters, meaning the entire city would be flooded. In addition, because of the poor quality of the Three Gorges project, an elevation of 145 meters above sea level has to be maintained during the flood control period as it's the safest water level for it. If the level goes beyond and breaks the dam, it will flood the Yangtze River Basin, which contains important cities such as Shanghai. The flow of water and sediment will ruin the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River up to the mouth of Shanghai. Therefore, the Three Gorges must maintain the 145-meter water level as its life and death line. This creates a contradiction for the dam. Between its upstream and downstream cities, the Three Gorges is squeezed at both ends. When the upstream city of Chongqing can't take any more water, the Three Gorges will discharge to the downstream to relieve the pressure on Chongqing. When downstream cities such as Wuhan can't stand the amount of discharged water and complain, the Wuhan government will protest loudly. Then the Three Gorges has to hold back the water flow, so Chongqing will get flooded a little more. The Three Gorges is like a microcosm of China's nearly 100,000 reservoirs and associated cities of all sizes. In order to ensure the safety of large cities or urban areas and the safety of substandard reservoirs, floods being discharged without warning during the rainy season has become the norm. The lives taken away by the floods aren't even numbers. In other words, the Chinese government often tinkers with the casualty figures so that the lives lost are not even included in any official statistic. The Yangtze River is the largest river in China. In addition to the mainstream, it has hundreds of tributaries. The drainage area is 1.8 million square kilometers, accounting for about 1/5 of China's total land area. We have seen that during this period, the Yangtze River Basin has received floods from west to east. The water in the whole town is very deep. I can't even stand still. The water is still rising. I can't even stand still. It's still rising. It's the first time I've seen so much water since I was a kid.
The water has risen by 1 meter in 10 minutes, and the whole highway has been completely flooded. The water has flooded the fields. It's still raining.
China's media have deliberately avoided any connection between the nearly 100,000 dams, including the Three Gorges, and the country's annual floods, which cover the north and south of the country. The media reported the disastrous floods as if they were caused by torrential rains. Here in the city of Meizhou in Guangdong province, many areas of the city have been flooded. Stores and buildings along the streets have been inundated. Cars have been washed away. There were also landslides and fallen trees on roads in some areas. Chinese official media reported that some individuals perished in the floods. We know that the official figures are usually heavily massaged. Officials also reported that in one county under the city of Meizhou, 5 rescue teams of 70 people were organized to carry out rescue work. In some areas, the floodwaters were about 1.5 meters deep, or 4 feet according to the report. Of course, in the north of China, the same story happened when the rainstorms came. Yes, you see it correctly. This is Xingtai City, Hebei Province last night. It started raining heavily last night. The rainstorm caused widespread power outages in our area. In addition to the power outages, there was also very, very deep water on the roads. I was impressed by this old gentleman who has gone viral in my circle of friends. The water was so deep that he could still drive a motorized wheelchair. There was a lot of water on the road, which caused many vehicles to stall. If you add the tofu dreg quality problem to the extreme weather, there are all sorts of accidents that can happen in China during the rainy season. This is a high-speed rail station in a relatively developed medium-sized city. For the northern province of Hebei, the suffering of the 2023 superflood will come partly from protecting the capital Beijing and partly from protecting Xiongan New Area. And what the CCP is doing now is to step up its actions and prove that it hasn't done anything wrong. Heavy rains hit the area around Beijing in 2011 and 2012, but neither Bazhou nor Drazhou suffered severe flooding because the Xiongan New Area didn't exist at the time. Drazhou is about 34 meters above sea level, while Baiyangdian, which is to the south, is about 18 meters above sea level. Under normal circumstances, flood discharge should pour into Baiyangdian as it has a total area of more than 360 square kilometers and can store more than 1.3 billion cubic meters of water. Now, Xiongan New Area is built on the ancient Baiyangdian dry lake bed. Therefore, the direction of flood discharge must be changed, and it no longer heads towards Baiyangdian but changes to Drazhou. We previously reported that the party secretary of Hebei province went to Baoding and Chang'an at the first opportunity, i.e. on August 1st and 2nd. Instead of talking about how to provide relief to the flood victims, he focused his speech on the need to activate the flood storage area in an orderly manner to alleviate the pressure on Beijing's flood control and resolutely act as the moat of Beijing. What he meant was to continue to discharge the flood water.
My friends and classmates in the South send me greetings and concerns for the situation in our disaster area. I can't use words to express how bad it is. In one word, it's catastrophic. Countless families have lost their homes and their life's work. You've seen the videos sent out from the drones and the videos taken by the passengers at Bazhou railway station, showing the villages along the way in a sea of water. I urge you to speak up for ourselves. We must report the real situation, the misery we are in, so that everyone can see how devastated we are. Of course, the videos and the real-time situation that we are spreading are just the tip of the iceberg. Instead, we saw the CCTV news yesterday on August 4th, saying that what we had was due to rainfall and not flood discharge. I'm going to send you a video later on so that you can see what kind of rainfall can reach this level. This is the disaster area that was chosen for flood discharge. We see a lot of businesses that may be bearing the livelihood of dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of families. We see peasants on crops. They all count on the weather for their livelihood, and they are the most vulnerable population. In such a situation, the only thing they may count on is the government and the country. But when the news story came out claiming that the disaster was a result of rainfall, not flood discharge, they lost faith in the government. The last little bit of hope they had in them. How chilling.
Drazhou is a city with a population of nearly 1 million, and the safety of 1 million people is sacrificed at the whim of CCP officials.
8月27号啊。
It's August 27th. The water is still half a meter deep. This is my factory. Huh, this situation. It's starting to rain again. Look at the water. This is the real situation in my factory. Look, all these factories are underwater, and the machines are all destroyed.
这福安营2号路，这是我厂子，这是我厂子里的真实状况啊。现在还有半米多水呢，看看这儿。 看这房子，车间里都泡塌了，机器啥全都泡了。
Our village, see, it's been a month and the floodwater hasn't receded yet.
1个月了，这水仍没有退下去。
This is the National Highway 106. Look, ducks are swimming.
Millions of flood victims have lost their homes, and this is what life is like for some of them. Some villagers recall the devastation caused by the government's unannounced flood discharge at night and are terrified. Look, the traces left by the flood are telling onlookers what kind of catastrophe they have survived.
We were terrified. We ran for our lives, and that was how we survived the flood.
Didn't you get the notice?
Who told us about the flood? We just fend for ourselves.
Wasn't there any notice?
The village loudspeaker told us to stay away from the river and wait at home. Look at this. The water came here. It's really a narrow escape. It all happened at night. If we didn't react fast, we would have been finished.
You can't react at night.
Right.
Where did you all go?
Up on the roof.
While lamenting the hardships of the future, many of the victims seem to have failed to realize the root cause of their suffering.
Rebuilding the home. Rebuilding the home, easy to say. To rebuild, how to rebuild? I hope the history will remember us, Zhuozhou, Hebei province, for the contributions we made, for the sacrifices we made.
Imagine, in the context of China's current economic recession, is there any money to rebuild the devastated areas? Is it even necessary? If they must sacrifice for the capital Beijing and its sub-capital Xiongan every year and be used as a floodplain, what is the point of rebuilding? No one in the CCP is considering things of this sort. What are they thinking about? The outside world and the public have strong criticism for sacrificing millions of people to protect the ghost city of Xiongan. But what if Xiongan isn't a ghost city but a very valuable place? Wouldn't that prove that we, the CCP, have done the right thing? Xiongan New Area has been established for many years, but no one from Beijing wants to move there. It has become a major reason to hinder the development of Xiongan New Area. The ultimate goal was announced as early as 2019, with 100 centralized companies and 4.52 million people relocating to Xiongan in about 15 years. But only 20 central enterprises landed and registered in 2022. According to the feedback of some people who understand the situation, the so-called landing registration is just a symbol. With an office setting up, the staff is still in Beijing. In March 2023, Hebei province asked some educational institutions to build campuses in the Xiongan New Area, which attracted a lot of attention from educators. However, these universities have said that they won't give up their original campuses and their campuses in Beijing. And even if they must build campuses in Xiongan New Area, it's unlikely for it to be a total relocation. On March 30th, the Beijing Daily put forward some specific objectives: accelerating the construction of the headquarters of 4 central enterprises, 4 colleges and universities, and 2 hospitals in 2023. And striving for 32nd and 3rd-tier subsidiaries of central enterprises to settle in the new area. Following the superflood in Hebei province, it's suspected that the Beijing municipal government is picking on relatively softer targets. Central enterprises and schools in Beijing try to dilly-dally and are reluctant to move to Xiongan. Then the municipal government will first take advantage of private enterprises that have no power or influence. Radio Free Asia reported that in late August, the Chaoyang district in eastern Beijing implemented a series of harsh lockdown and control measures. In the name of Beijing's centralized planning, companies in the district's many industrial parks are required to relocate unconditionally. Hundreds of companies have been forced to shut down in the Chaoyang district's Mingji International Park alone. A business owner in the park told Radio Free Asia that many businesses have managed to survive the 3-year epidemic and invested huge sums of money in renovations, only to be asked to relocate overnight with no compensation for all their investment. They were plunged into difficulties overnight. This large-scale campaign to evict the business owners of industrial parks has involved almost half of the city of Beijing. According to incomplete statistics, it may have directly impacted millions of professionals. They are forced to leave and may have to close their businesses and lose their jobs. The government's notice was very urgent and quick. Some analysts told Radio Free Asia that there are existing parks in Chang'an that are empty. An empty city, Xi's pet project, has resulted in a catastrophe in Zhuozhou and Hebei, making the party leader look very bad. Therefore, Xi's close associates have rushed to take action to remedy the situation. What they have decided to do reflects the usual thinking of the CCP authorities in dealing with controversies nowadays. That is, they'll create new crises, rationalize previous mistakes, and learn the opposite lessons instead. Their line of thinking goes like this. If we rush people to fill Chang'an quickly and make it important, it wouldn't be a ghost town anymore. Then, if we flood cities like Zhuozhou to protect Chang'an, the public and the outside world wouldn't have much to complain about, right? Along these lines, when the next rainy season arrives, the places in Hebei province that were flooded this year will have to be flooded again. However, due to various factors, Chang'an is destined to be incapable of becoming an economically developed region. You can check out our previous episodes for a more detailed analysis. The links are posted in the description box below. Another major consequence of forcing businesses to move out of Beijing to Chang'an is that it will make domestic and foreign investors even more skeptical about the real estate prices in Beijing. It's as if the CCP doesn't think the country's real estate industry is depressed enough.